Good evening and welcome to Midnight Movie Club and my review of Prospect. Prospect was written and directed by Zeke Errol and Chris Caldwell and is based on the short of the same name, which was also written and directed by the duo. The feature had an initial release in 2018 doing the festival rounds where it won the Adam York Hornblower Award at South by Southwest. The film then had a limited release in theatres under the Gunpowder and Sky label Dust. I had covered Prospect when its first trailer dropped and really liked the look of it, but sadly everything on the film went dead silent. But it has now since dropped on video on demand this year and has now just found its way to Netflix, allowing me to get round to this review. Prospect stars Sophie Thatcher, Pedro Pascal and Jade Duplass. It follows a man and his teenage daughter who travel to an alien moon with a contract to mine valuable minerals within the moon's poisonous forest. A young girl must face the forest itself, her own father's greed, and others who inhabit the green. The first thing I'd like to talk about going into this review is the costume and set design, as both are fantastic. The film has this brilliant lo-fi aesthetic where everything looks like a heap of junk that's been held together with duct tape instead of being all shiny and brand new. Nothing works perfectly and everything looks used and lived in. I really like when sci-fi goes for this look over the clinical perfect advanced holograph type look, and here in Prospect it really helped mould it into that sci-fi western genre it was going for. Although there is far more sci-fi iconography than western, just the way the characters talk and interact with each other, bargaining, cutting deals and not sure if they can trust one another, along with the way the narrative carries itself throughout the film, that's where it nudges into sci-fi western. But by far the way they nailed the genre and the costume and set design was my favourite thing about the film. I loved just looking at each character's different spacesuit and what it said about them. Without knowing them, you had a sense of what they might have been through and how different they were to the main characters. The film is really light in expository dialogue, although a lot of the world building is done through the dialogue itself. There are only a couple of scenes maybe where we will be told the whats, whys and wheres of something, but for the most part the film lets the world within it build organically, and I really liked how they achieved that within Prospect. Now, something I wasn't expecting from the film was the amazing soundtrack. The orchestral strings and haunting choir chants helped in giving the film its ominous ambient atmosphere where everything looked beautiful but danger was lurking everywhere, and I felt that the score beautifully captured that same feel. It was also a nice contrast to the music characters would listen to themselves, which was weird quirky sounding foreign bands, which made it alien sounding for me as I didn't speak those languages. That's if they were even languages, they might have been made up for the film. Moving on now to performances, and I loved Pedro Pascal and Sophie Thatcher together. It helped that the characters were very well written for the most part, but the performances they gave really made them an entertaining duo to watch. I enjoyed how their relationship evolved throughout the film. Jade Duplass is also very good and pretty much shows us the everyday working man of this universe. His character wasn't the most likeable person, but for what he was, Duplass done well to capture that shitty persona. Up next, let's get into pacing. I felt the pacing for the most part was fine across the film. There were a couple of moments where I felt it may fall into a lull and slow down too much due to something happening to the characters. But as soon as I felt that it might take them too long to get past something, they were past it and back on track with the main narrative. There were a couple of things in the story though that I felt were very, very unnecessary, and I think if they had cut them and focused more on the final act, they could have done even more with it and spent more time filling that final act with even more tension and action. That is one thing I would say before going into this one. Don't expect pulse rifle, plasma caster, non-stop action or anything like that. This is a far more of a slow burn film where it opts to build tension before scenes boil over. The good thing is it is effective at building that tension through the dialogue and the music. When action does come, it's quick, frantic and clinical. This is very grounded sci-fi. It is a very grounded sci-fi film altogether. Even though there is out there elements throughout the story, it does go at them with a very realistic approach, so don't expect anything too crazy. As far as the direction goes, it is very good, similar to the short where it is equally great quality. This is a very nice looking film, even though it is a lot of tech that looks old and clunky. The way the indoor sets are shot keep them tight and cosy, and then we are out in the wilderness, we're getting big wide shots of the horizon. They are open and beautiful, with often planets overhead really hitting home that staple sci-fi look. I also loved the good old two-handed indie shots in this alien forest. There was something hypnotic about those, and those shots in particular. The visuals also have this sort of fluorescent but transparent dust over them constantly while in the forest to show how toxic it is. It just kept the screen alive when there wasn't much happening and just helped convey this hostile environment. It was a nice little aesthetic touch. Even though Prospect's atmosphere is fantastic with costume and set design and its characters are grounded and real, I felt like Thatcher's character never really had gone through a full arc for herself. She has some really nice touching moments with Pascal's character where it feels something is brewing, but her character just never feels as fleshed out as Pascal's, who seems to pretty much come full circle. I wish there was more of a conclusion to her arc. Another couple aspects I would just like to highlight are lighting and editing, especially within the opening of the film. We have a spaceship that's orbiting the planet, and as it does this, the light on the outside moves around it. We then cut to the inside of it, and the lighting is still moving at the same pace and direction as it did on the outside. It was just a real nice example of invisible editing and was very well done in tying the scene and shots together, keeping continuity. It's little details like that which were fantastic in Prospect. All in all, Prospect is a dialogue-driven exploration of human greed on an alien planet with incredible visuals and bold imaginative ideas throughout its world. The world is built through costume and set design and language and doesn't rely on flashy CGI. While some characters may not have proper arcs and fulfill them, and the plot dips in and out a couple of times before it course corrects to its satisfying finale, it is a solid, immersive sci-fi western story. With all that said and done, I'm going to give Prospect a 3.5 out of 5 rating. But anyway, if you've seen Prospect, let me know what you thought of it in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed this video, then give it a like. Also, if you're not already, then subscribe to join the club. As always, thank you very much for watching, and good night.